If I have a bias, it's that blue phones look best. Just a quick checkup video on one of the darling brands in the Android ecosystem. OnePlus had a really strong year for 2019. If some of their strategy and distribution was a little clumsy, was just a little more confusing than in years past. Different regions, different phones, different specifications, a OnePlus 7 in some places, a OnePlus 7 Pro in others, the OnePlus 7T making a lot of headlines here in North America, and then also making sure we were keeping track of 5G variants. That's a lot for any manufacturer to tackle, and even for a few sticky bits, I think OnePlus weathered that transition well. And this isn't really gonna be a spec for spec or what phone should you buy. It's more, I've had access to both, which is a little bit unique. I don't think a lot of consumers are out there buying both of the offerings from OnePlus in any given year. Sharing my own experiences, maybe that helps someone who's considering picking up a OnePlus device, or I'm sure we've got our sights set on a future OnePlus announcement in some form or fashion arriving later in the year. I'm one of those people who would consider themselves to be a heavy user, a pro user, really trying to drive phones to their absolute limits. And in many ways, the OnePlus 7 Pro is a superior device. For the extra screen resolution, the internals, where OnePlus, there is consideration for thermals and processing. And I was very surprised that even for the newer chipset, the slightly nicer chipset in the 7T, that the OnePlus 7 Pro was able to outperform the 7T in a lot of the areas that I'm most concerned with. Heavy use like video rendering, especially on mobile apps, which is a bit more CPU powered. The OnePlus 7 Pro lives up to that Pro moniker in giving me just a little bit of extra horsepower, a little bit faster runtime, chewing up that video just a little bit quicker. I keep loose notes, kind of a tech diary on the gadgets that I use, the products that I'm reviewing. More often than not, when I was leaving the house with one of these phones, it was this guy, which totally flies in the face of all of the specs nerding out that I've done in recent phone videos. It's got a water drop notch. I'm not a big fan of notches. It's got the lower resolution display, still the faster refresh rate, so it's super fluid. I definitely praised that in my initial 7T coverage, but dollars to donuts, I was instinctively reaching for the 7T more frequently. So much of our gadget commentary is emotional. Even those of us who are tech enthusiasts and we claim we're going down and we're making rational decisions, we're making rational choices on the products and the services that we choose to use. I've been going through and trying to rationalize my behavior after the fact, but emotionally, there were reasons why I was picking up this phone, even if I wasn't able to always consciously disclose what was leading me to make that choice. Leaning on the 2 semesters of clinical psychology that I took in college, if I'm gonna play armchair psychologist here and try and analyze my behavior, a couple small differentiators might be making the difference. First of all, the aggressive way in which we have to review devices. It's not normal daily driver smartphone use. And especially if you followed my channel for things like camera reviews, I'm that guy who loves to roll around in the dirt and get pretty video of a phone as I hold it over a freeway overpass. I think in the back of my brain, there just might be a natural tendency for when I'm out using a phone to also pick some of the less expensive options. I definitely think that speaks to some of the price performance compromises that I think we should be more aware of when we're recommending products to average consumers. But the other significant differentiator, the thing that's kind of tapping into my lizard brain when I'm reaching for a phone and I'm not actively considering one over the other, is the form factor. The OnePlus 7T coming in just a little bit narrower, a slightly flatter front display. I think my hands gravitate towards this form factor over the 7 Pro. And because we're not playing the exact same game and trying to hide bezels on the 7 Pro, the 7T just feels like it's got ever so slightly a bit more grip, a bit more side to hold on to. Obviously, I use both of my phones in cases. A phone doesn't leave the gadget lab unless I can cover it or protect it. But even then, I've got a bit more to hold on to with a good case on the 7T than I do with the bumper case on my 7 Pro. Tiny little ergonomic considerations like these might be making that difference. Or I could totally be lying to myself and just making up reasons for sort of an unconscious bias or an unconscious preference when I'm reaching for a phone to pop my SIM card into for that day. That potential bias does seem to track though. I mean, thinking back to my experiences using the Xperia 1 versus the Xperia 5, and again, there's just this germ of an idea in the back of my brain that I think I liked the in-the-hand experience of the Xperia 5 over the Xperia 1, even though the Xperia 1 has the better screen. Some food for thought, some ideas to chew on, but I wanted to throw this question out here. See if we could have a conversation about this. How often have you gone into owning a smartphone? You've been looking at reviews, you've been checking out that spec sheet. You're making the well-reasoned and educated consumer choice on the features that you think are gonna be right for you. And then you just put it in your hand, and you know what? Maybe it's not quite right. Or you pick up another device and you're expecting, maybe this isn't the right fit for me, maybe there are too many compromises, but you know what? It just vibes. It's just something about it and you can't quite put your finger on it. I think that psychology is so profound, so drop some comments down below. What phone took you by surprise in a good way, or maybe in a not so good way? As always, folks, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these videos, subscribing to this channel. More than just nerding out on a phone the instant it launches and then forgetting about it after that embargo review week is over. We want to revisit these gadgets and see how they age over time. See if they really live up to those manufacturers' claims, or even just our own imagination as to what we might be doing with them. If you would like to help support the production of those broader, longer-term conversations, there are some links below, or you might consider joining the list of names currently scrolling by on your screen. It's a growing community of fun, like-minded tech pals, a huge resource for me as I'm planning future topics and videos and conversations, and they're just really good people, so I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy on the Twitters and the Twitch, and the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and I will catch you all on the next video.